in Thought.
All right, let's get started. You may learn something.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Black in Thought, where we take a look at current and cultural issues, applying that Afrocentric drip to them. Your hosts tonight are
the Black Broadcaster. We got Dale, JB, D, and me, Ill Will. Tonight, topic, we're going to give you an introduction to ourselves. Let you know what we're all about, what Black in Thought is doing, and why we're out here. We just feel that we have some knowledge that everybody could use, and we just want to get it out to the people. So we're going to go around. We're going to let the black broadcaster go first and introduce himself, and we'll go around.
Pass me the mic, Ill Will. What's happening? This is your pastor, the bastard, the Black Broadcaster reporting live. Glad to be on the show. We got a lot to offer. With that being said, I'm going to pass it to my guy to the left of me.
Dale.
Oh, my turn?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's up, world? I'm Dale. Basically, I'm the youngin' of the group. Everybody in the rest of the group is old as heck. And I'm the baby of the bunch. But like I said, we all have life experiences. We all came from somewhere. And basically, the whole point of this is just letting everybody know what we think. And hopefully somebody can learn something from it. Born and raised Columbus, Ohio. Play sports. What else you want to know about me? That's about it. Got a wife, got kids. Listen up. Now I'm passing it to my left, my man, Jay Beezy.
Thanks, Dale.
Oh, nice.
So, I think this will be a good time for us to get together, share our collective thoughts, learn from one another. My background, I'm married, been married for several years, have a couple children, and I think it's time to really take a step back and try to get back a little bit for things that you've gone through and maybe help somebody out. So that's why I'm here. I'll pass it to the left to D.
What's up, y'all? This is D. Looking forward to this. Just share our knowledge with the world, and with all we're going through right now, I think it's a good time to put some what we know and see how we can help. So that's it.
Last but not least,
Ill Will.
Your boy, Ill Will. Like we said, it's just, we felt this is the time. A lot of things going on in the world that just need a voice, need a guide. I'm not saying that we know all. I'm not saying that we have all the answers, but there's experiences that we've been through that can help others get through it just the same. So, our coping mechanisms can help others. I've been helping people for quite a while now. So, within the things that I do. So, I just felt it was only right that we got together and, we put out this information and make it do what it do, baby.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it. Current affairs. What's going on out there?
Well, let's give some background on each. Some more. Let's say, kind of like what's going on. Me, myself, I'll give you a little bit about, things that I guess, I'm not going to say qualify, but, support my opinions on some of these things. I've been in law enforcement for the last 16 years. Seen good, seen bad, seen ugly, done a lot of good. Hope and pray that I've never done any bad. But with that, just a lot of things that I've seen and done. Like many of the others here, I'm married, children, everyday struggles with life, and, relationships and things like that. Manhood, moving forward. Being a better person, being better spiritually and things like that. Just trying to move forward and bring as many people with me as I can as possible,
I get it. You know, same here. I think we all have that in common. I'm married, got several kids, and I've worked in both the private sector and the public sector and the civil service sector, if you will. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to come out the gate with this one, that I'm very uncomfortable with everything that's going on. But it doesn't, I think we should expect this, you know, and not to sound all churchy or anything like that, but we're in the end times, whether you want to accept it or not. But I'm uncomfortable with it because, not because it's happening, but because how we're responding, right?
Yeah.
Right? So with that being said, I have a lot of energy and I have some things that I really want to put out there that, what are we doing about this, right? I mean, are we being desensitized by what's going on? You know, we have families, we got kids. When you wake up in the morning before you go to work and kiss your wife and kiss your kids, do you ever even think, this could be me, or this could be one of my children, or this could be my spouse?
Yeah.
You know, no scenario is immune to the violence that's going on.
To anyone.
To anyone, right? So I have a bone to pick in terms of how are we responding. I'm going to pass it to my guy to the left.
All right. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm definitely have a bone to pick with the things that's going on. And I come, my point of view is not necessarily from everybody say white people and what the white people doing and so on and so forth. My bone I pick is with my own people. You know, we see all the current stuff going on. We see the riots, and to be honest, what is that proving? You know what I mean? That'd be my question that I would ask the people out there. What are you proving by busting the window? What are you proving by stealing stuff out of a store? That's not helping the cause. That's not helping change laws. That's not helping anything besides possibly you ending up getting hurt or end up in jail yourself. You know what I mean? So, like I said, my point of view is maybe somewhat different from other people's point of views, but that's why it's a collection of us. You know, it's 5 of us in here right now, and we all have different backgrounds. We all came from somewhere different, and like I said, the whole point of this podcast is we express our feelings. We're not saying we're right. We're not saying we're wrong. We're not saying this is the absolute answer, but what we are saying is this is from our life experiences, because that's what everybody has, their own life experiences. So from our life experiences, this is what we have to say. Hopefully, what we have to say can enrich somebody's life, touch somebody's life out there, change one mind. If we could change one mind, then this podcast was a success.
And I'm just put it out there like this. You have, that you're listening to, a bunch of professionals. This is, I mean, you know, you have your careers and your professions, but you have a bunch of professionals. What you have right here that you're listening to, you have business owners, you have bosses. I mean, it's just an immense amount of knowledge that I feel that we're going to be able to provide for you from all that. Like I said, I mean, professionals here.
Yeah, I hope to honestly learn from this experience, you know, and it would be nice to get feedback from people who are listening to the podcast on, to possibly get some interaction, to, like you said, or Dale, said, hopefully change somebody's, you know, thought process, perspective. You know, that's what I hope to get out of it. Go ahead, D.
All right, so a little bit about me. Background, product of a single mom, just kind of, you know, black man raised in the city by a single black woman. With that being said, you know, just something is related to, you know, like we say, is there a father around? Is there, what kind of guidance are you having? Things like that. Or else, what we doing in the world now, you know, like the pastor said over here.
The black broadcaster.
The black broadcaster
Reporting live.
Yeah.
Just being bothered, you know. You know, we all watch the news. We all see what's going on, you know. And I guess my question to everyone is, how does it make you feel? You know, black, green, white, Asian, how does it really make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that most definitely. I mean, a lot of us came from single parent homes. Not that it's a bad thing, not that it's a good thing. It's just, you know, it was what it was for us.
It was a different era.
Yeah.
Back in that time. Like right now, you know, like I said, we are married, kids. But back then, you know, coming up, it was, I think that's when women was kind of just fed up with what was going on. They decided to do things themselves. So they say. So
Man, say that again. Just, they fed up. Put bombs for that.
Drop
Just
bombs
people being
on
fed
them.
up.
Yeah, Will dropping bombs on them.
Well, you know, it's funny. I think of the term blindsided. Brother D over there, our backgrounds were kind of similar. Single parent home due to the crack epidemic in the 80s. Father failed at that. So mother was stuck raising 2 young black men in the height of the drug epidemic with no father in the middle of the projects. I mean, what is the likelihood that I'm sitting before you unscathed, no record, you know? So that's a, you know, that's a unique situation, and to come out this way. But with that being said, you know, I have a family. I'm married, you know, 4 kids, professional, business owner. And when I think about where I came from, when you put the pieces together, the path doesn't lead to where I'm at. Right? So there had to be something to get me from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
Because some of us don't make it out. So just to move a little forward with the current affairs, and I'm looking at it right now about this Minneapolis situation.
So I'm gonna pick up. This is Dale again. If you guys haven't learned my voice yet, the pickup where the black broadcast left off. I'm a little different. Like I said, a lot of people here is raised by in a single parent home. I was raised in a single parent home by a father. My mother died, passed away from breast cancer when I was younger. So, like I said, that's kind of go back to what we said at the beginning. This is a collection of different point of views from different places. And so I had my father. My father is still living with me, God bless. So I've learned a lot from my father. He's my hero. And I feel like it's my duty as a black man to pass on the knowledge my father passed on to me, because he didn't have his dad there. His dad was not in the picture. So he learned everything by trial and error. And he passed a lot of lessons on, some good, some bad, but he passed a lot of stuff on to me. And I feel like it's my duty to pass the knowledge that he passed on to me, pass that on to the next generation. So that's giving background. That's kind of where my background is. I'm here to pass on what I know to the next generation, and hopefully, you know, it could change somebody's life.
So see, Dale, I'm kind of like your father. My father, I had to learn by trial and error.
Right.
So it's kind of like I'm your father.
That is definitely not. That is definitely not. I
I
wish
see the similarities.
It's your boy D talking to Dale.
So you were the one who packed him that Lunchable that day?
There you go, son.
we're gonna bring that up. Listen, this is supposed to be a positive thing. I can change it real negative real quick.
But on the flip side,
Eddie
I think
Kruger.
B has another.
Yeah.
JB got a different background too.
Yeah. So, you know,
It's not here.
my background, you know, both of my parents married, you know, been married for almost, you know, over 30 years. And I grew up well, you know, we didn't have to struggle for anything. Grew up in the suburb. But with that being said, I feel like I spent the majority of my time as a youth hanging in the hood,
Right.
you know, with my cousins, with my friends. So
How'd you like the different flavor annihilators?
what's that?
How'd you like the different flavor annihilators?
From the suburb to the
Different
hood.
flavor loud ladies.
Penny candy.
Yo, penny candy, Chico
wasn't
sticks.
I really wasn't no candy kid, man. I like chicken and
Yeah, we had that too.
wings and
The good
fish.
stuff.
So, So
Ain't nothing like chicken and dirty grease.
They've been sitting on the stove for like 2 weeks.
I ain't seen no grease balls around here.
Hey, Brandon, I'm with you. I grew up a little bit better than you did. We didn't use no 2-week-old grease.
yeah, we went to the store.
Got fresh grease.
That's all right. Pinkies up. I ain't mad. I ain't mad.
Don't eat. Hey, don't eat in my house.
But you know, both my parents went to school. You know, graduated from college. You know, I was fortunate and blessed to have that environment. You know, I went myself, graduated from college along with my brother. So, you know, you know, my perspective really, and one thing that kind of, you know, some of my homeboys we talk about, you have to learn. You stay true to yourself, but you are able to be a chameleon to some extent, to where you can see what, you know, adapt to certain situations, to still navigate through things and get things done and get things accomplished without losing who you are, you know. And I think when I saw a lot of my friends in college, you know, we were around a lot of Caucasians, they struggled, you know, to navigate certain things.
It's okay to say white folks.
Well, they was Caucasian, so
It's a different kind of white.
so.
My bad, John. Go
No,
ahead.
you good, D. But it was just, it was interesting to me, you know, to see how, you know, they really had a tough time, you know, navigating through those waters. And so that's one thing that I've tried to, you know, help my brothers and sisters that come behind me, is that don't lose who you are. Understand what the playing field is, you know. And I think that's one thing that I appreciate, the way my parents kind of helped instill that in me and guided me and helped me navigate through those waters.
Right. That's interesting. Coming from JB, coming from a world that was different than myself and D's. You know, he used the word adapt, and I was thinking about that because where we come from, the things that we learn, we don't learn how to adapt, right? We're all these situations where, you know, we come up with a single mother and we're exposed to a neighborhood and we get desensitized. We have to learn the skill of navigation, right? Because like I was explaining earlier, I come from the hood with the chances are myself sitting in front of you guys like this is what, 10,000 to 1? I'm supposed to be in jail, supposed to be hooked on dope, supposed to be dead, right? So we didn't have the luxury of adaptation. What we had to learn was navigation. And navigation is a skill because if you're driving a boat and you come across a rock, you can't adapt to it. You have to navigate around it, right? So where D and I come from is everything in our lives we had to navigate, right? That's a skill. We had to learn that because we were already marked from the beginning, right? Grew up, we had maybe adapted to not having a father, but we navigated into fathering ourselves, right?
Mhm.
We had to adapt when we went without something, but we navigated to get it, right? So that's a skill that we had to learn. And I was thinking about, you know, a statement I had made, like, how did I get from the hood? I had to think about that. How did I get from the hood to here? Strictly navigation, which is a skill that we had to learn.
It's funny you said that. So grew up in the hood, and you know, I was in that era where I remember the movies Colors came out.
Remember that?
I really remember that's the Crips and Bloods was banging. So where I lived at that point in time, that was a really big deal. I mean, we talking, like I said, the crack epidemic, the Crips, the Bloods, and you know, I'm seeing them with the flags, and it was every day. It became the norm. Well, as I got headed to junior high, my mom said, I can't have you around this walking to school while she at work. So, you know, we did some moving around and then finally moved out of the hood. But my mom had to work 2 jobs for us to live this safe life. You know, so I'm not looking out the windows, we're not hearing drive-bys or shooting or the bag on the fence where they selling rocks at, you know. And I said to say, single mom, I have a sister working 2 jobs. for a lot of part of my youth. But what she installed in me, I never, like I said, like you said, I have a record. Never sold dope. I just worked, and we had a lot of free time. Me and my sister, it was just me and her a lot. My mom had to work, so we had to live in that environment. So even moving out the way, I had to navigate my surroundings. Because things we deal with in the world right now, I dealt with as a youth on a different level. And so you're right, we had to learn how to navigate. I never really adapted to it, because adapted me, I kind of like accepted it. And I never did. I just learned how to, it was very hard to try to adapt to it. All that really did is make me angry. So then you had to navigate it and learn how to deal with it. So yeah.
Because adaptation is a process.
Yeah.
We didn't have that luxury of that process. Adaptation process could cost you your life in the hood.
That's true.
Right?
That is true.
Adapt. My mother, she was all about discipline, right? And like the situation where you're being left at home in the middle of warfare, spiritual warfare, drug warfare, so on and so forth. A mother had to be able to leave her children at home and know that when I tell you to do something, it's done, right?
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
gonna be and it's for your own good. At the time, you don't realize that. But she had to really lay it down. So shout out to all the single mothers who
Big up to
who
them.
raising young men. That is something that you were not designed for. But yet and still you've done it, time and time again, And both my parents are deceased. So the effects of that being brought up in a single home is that you parent a little differently.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And all of us are married. We all have children. So we all know the ups and the downs, the pros and the cons, all that stuff of marriage, that makes it good, makes it okay. It also creates opportunity to make it better, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me is coming from where I came from, it made me a little bit less compassionate, because my kids have a lot more now than I had to start out with, right?
See,
that is true.
So this is the mindset.
I don't think it's. I don't think that's. That's something that I struggle with, is how much the kids have and what they're blessed with, and they act like it's the end of the world when you tell them to clean their room or do something like this.
See, I'm taking it a step further. These kids, you're right. They don't know. I mean, growing up, I was
spoiled.
Product of a single parent home. My mom, she worked overnights, so while she was going to work at 11 p.m., we was there at the house. In the mornings and stuff like that. She's either catching up on sleep, or at the time she was going to junior college, to get her associate's degree. So a lot of times we were there. She sleep, so it had to be instilled in us to do what you're supposed to do, without me having to worry about you, because she sleep, going to school and things like that. Trying to make it better for her and us. And it's something that I carried with me. Seeing that stuff and how she do that, because when I first moved up here, it was rough for me. I really didn't have much. I transferred to a job up here, 2 jobs actually. One of the jobs, it was just they weren't. I hate to say it like this, but they weren't feeling me being black. People used to tell me, "You talk funny. Why are you? I mean, you over here. I mean,
Hey,
I
you
heard
do talk funny, man.
everything. See, that's
You
not
still
right, though.
talk funny, bro.
I talk fantastic. But, it boiled down to, I wound up losing one of the jobs. They said there just was no work, and which was, I'm gonna just put it out there, bullshit. Because like when I was working at the same job back home, I was the number 1 salesman in that division. So how to come from the number 1 salesman in that division to come up here to now you telling me ain't no work? Yeah.
So you mean corporate America has a drought? There was no work. I'm confused.
Right.
And then, I go from that to, I had spots in time there that, I was sleeping in my car. I was homeless. Didn't have a home. And, I wasn't telling my family back home this. Because I didn't want them to worry. There was many nights I slept in my car. I would talk to my family back home, like my sister or something, be on the phone. She never knew, just had a regular conversation. And then, later on that night, I'm letting the seat back and going to sleep. Until, I hustled and got myself 2 jobs again to get myself out of the hole that I was in. But seeing those things put me in a mind frame, I'm never going back there.
Yes.
You will never see me in that situation again by any means that I can help. And from that, I mean, it just pushed me. And from that, I went ahead and I went to school myself. I wound up becoming a triple major student, business management, business administration, and marketing. And so,
Shout out.
Man,
4 years.
I can't get
I
one
did it in
degree.
4
You got
years.
three.
Yo, Will.
I didn't do it in 6 or 8 or draw it out or anything like that. I did it in 4 years.
Determination.
Yeah. And then, turn around, got the job that I got, within law enforcement. And then I've moved up the ranks within that, Now, I mean, I'm up there. And, with that, I turned around and used that to get my master's degree. So now, I mean, all the determination, hard work, and effort, I make it pay off for myself because I didn't want myself going back to something that I saw was not a very good situation. I mean, it sucked being homeless.
Now it will count. Can I ask you a question? JB brought it up earlier. We all came from a background, but we're all doing good now, right? And some people's mindsets, we're doing pretty good. So we're talking about doing for our kids, right? How do you? What's the right word I'm trying to say? How do you instill that determination that your mother gave you? How do you put that in your children that have, don't want to say everything, but have more than, like you said, have more than what you have? What do you do to try to drive that home?
I take trips home all the time to show them the house that we used to live in. And I show them the neighborhood that we used to live in. I mean, drive-bys, people selling drugs, you name it. I mean, it kind of happened over there in that area. Gangs was real prevalent over there too, the same. And it's just like showing them a rich history of, this could easily be you at any moment. And you should be very thankful for the things that you have.
Okay.
And then on top of that, not just giving them things. You got to earn it. You got to work for it. You got to go up. You got chores to do. You got stuff to help me with around the house. You got all that type of stuff to do before I'm buying you these things, because you're just not going to get it and get it handed to you so you can feel like, the world's going to hand you something.
Yes, sir.
I mean, number one, I mean, just going back home to show them the neighborhoods and stuff like that, and, the houses and things like that from where I came from, I mean, is an impactful thing in itself. I mean, when you look at it.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I often, when I talk to my kids about it, when we're riding through the hood and they ask, my bad. They ask, why are the buildings boarded up? Why ain't nobody had no businesses? I'm like, and you try to explain to them, it's a battle of economics, and when people don't have jobs, they can't feed their families, they can't spend money in areas. So, unfortunately, businesses, they leave, and it starts with employment, really, and also, tied to education as well. But ultimately, you got to be able to feed your families, and that's what, unfortunately, in the hood, it's tough to keep businesses going in those areas, because that discretionary spending, that those dollars, it's tough to come by. So having employment, higher earnings, higher wages, that's very important.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna feed off of JB. When you was talking about taking your kids back to your old neighborhoods and stuff, I took my kids by actually by my old house that we stayed in, and this house was small, man. I swear it probably couldn't be no more than 1,000 square feet, if that. And it was a house. It had 2 bedrooms, one bathroom, and my kids tripped out about one bathroom. They was like, y'all had one bathroom? I was like, yeah, it was 5 of us, and we had one bathroom. It was like, how you do?
Yeah.
Man, what?
Get up early.
You get up first.
Listen, reuse bath water, let a little bit
Been
out,
there.
let some more. Come on, man.
Let it out.
Yeah,
Listen.
don't
Let it out.
don't use that hot water.
I told you we was doing a little bit better than you.
Your tub wasn't green, was it?
But fellas, I'm thinking about something, and it's something that JB said. Why do we give our kids a different experience if we know that the outcome of our experiences have made us who we are? And I'm
Man,
thinking,
say it again. Say it again.
can I go deep?
Oh, man, say it.
Can I go a little deep?
Say it one more time.
I'm a Jakes fan. Can I
Say
go
it-
a little deeper?
Say it one more time, man.
Why do we neglect our children by not giving them the same experiences that allowed us to become who we are? Why?
Can I respond?
And I'm gonna tell you. Go ahead,
Can I respond?
please go deep.
Okay. My thought.
Uh-huh.
All right. My thought on that is we do it to give our kids a head start. All right. In my opinion, this is
Right.
my opinion. So I do it. So the things like you just said, we had to navigate. You had to navigate your way through life. How do I do this? How do I do that?
Right.
How do I keep good credit? How do I take care of credit
Oh,
cards?
man.
How do I
Hey.
how do I cut my grass? Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like how do I navigate? How do I go to school? How do I study? I didn't have people to tell me that. I didn't have nobody to help me do that. I had to navigate my way
Yes.
through that. So, you know what I mean? So, and like earning things. You know what I earned? I earned a $1 food stamp to go to the corner store and buy penny candy. Now, that's not no different than my children. And they want to go, they do their chores, they do their thing. I buy them a video game. Yeah, it costs $60. But it's the same, it's the principle. The principle is
You
you
work
did
for
what
it.
you were supposed to do and you earn something. So in our case, we came from the hood. So it was $1. You know, remember the old school got to rip it out the book?
Yeah, man. The little brown
Yeah,
boy.
It was the brown
The
boy.
$1 were brown.
Yeah,
the green
brown.
ones were 5.
I
the
never-
red ones were 10.
We had
I
FSP.
never earned that much. Only made it to the brown. But
Yeah.
to me, it's the same principle.
Right.
So when you ask your question, why do we don't let our do it for our kids? It's because for me, I do it because I want my kids. One, it's the principle, so you still learn the principle, but at the same time, I'm giving you a little bit head start in life. I'm pushing you a little bit. So when you get out my house, when you walk out my house, when you 18 or however you graduate college, when you walk out my house, you don't have to go through those struggles that I went through.
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff you're going to already know before you get there. Like I'm just now learning stuff and I'm, 30 plus years old.
Right.
I want my children to be like, when my children walk out my house at 18, 19, I want them to know stuff that I knew at 30.
Right.
Yeah, I'll say this. Professor, is that everybody ain't built the same.
It's true.
So as you were fortunate enough to navigate through a situation, your kids may not be. So why put that hurdle in front of them if you can remove it as best you can? You don't know their limitations. You don't know their struggles or what they're gonna go through as they get older. So don't put them behind the 8 ball beforehand because they may not be built the same.
I was going to say the same thing. Kids aren't built like we were back
So,
in the day. They're
so
not.
hold on, I'm saying. So, I got 2 kids. My daughter will be 10. My son's 21. Totally different backgrounds on how they came up. I was 20 years old when I had my son. I was a grown entrepreneur when I had my daughter. So my life is different from the son. So the parent I was when I had my son was a totally different parent the way I am with my daughter. And some of things you guys are saying, I see that about, let's not put them behind. I do believe if we can get them ahead through the knowledge and the parenting we do for them. My son's 21, moved out when he was 18. I said it many times. He has not asked me for not one dime. I was hard on my son as I was a 20-year-old kid that had him. So when I had him, my only thing of parenting was how my mom parented me. She was she was. I don't want to say she was hard, but she was pretty straightforward on me. So I was pretty straightforward with him versus my daughter now, who is like we talk about Suburbia or the $60 video game, which if my son would have asked for a $60 video game at 9, it would have been a conversation, which it still is. But like you say, Ill Will, what are you willing to do? Like, you put one foot in, I put the other foot in. So I don't believe, at one point in time, my mindset was, you know what? As I start doing better for myself, I'm going to give my kids the things that they want because I could not have them. And I went there a little bit, but I started realizing that that wasn't good for my kid. My kid became a brat and just not understanding, just feeling entitled. So I do think when you're a kid and when you feel entitled alone, that can be a setback because in the world, the world don't feel they owe you anything.
Yes, it's a fine balance.
Yes.
No, I agree with all three of you guys, but we're still missing one specific element.
Say it.
But I'm like D. We when we have children, different ages, we parent differently. So there's an inconsistency there, right? You know, one thing that I've learned is when we came up through the trenches, and this is what you should say, you know, my kids nowadays, they see the food on the table, but they didn't see the footwork underneath it. But when we grew up, we saw the footwork underneeth it, so we understood what it took to put the food on the table. You see what I'm saying?
And there was no choice.
There was no choice
of what you're gonna eat.
So when you, so I have to say this, and I stand by this. Someone like myself and D and whoever who came up in a situation where we were destined to fail, designed to fail, and to come out on the other end successful. Then you have children that you have set up for success, and you tell me that failure is an option? It isn't.
No.
Not at all.
The problem is, like Dee said, we're not consistent. His son grew up seeing the footwork.
Yes.
The daughter grew up seeing the food on the table.
My son lived in the hood.
Right. So they saw two different aspects, therefore creating what? Two different experiences.
Yep.
Now, there's one thing that you guys are all missing. Men are natural competitors. Am I right or am I wrong?
Are you right?
Right? 72% of black children are parented in a single-family home.
It's true.
So we always, often overcompensate for the brothers who ain't doing their jobs for their children, because we have to make sure that we don't look like them. Am I right or wrong? If I'm lying, I'm flying. Do you guys disagree or agree? We overcompensate for the other brothers who are not taking care of their children.
I disagree.
So
I
I don't overcompensate for because I can only worry about my home.
I get that.
I don't honestly.
Well, it doesn't have to
care.
be in gifts. It can be in discipline. It can be in gifts. But naturally and ultimately, we overcompensate because we see the man who's not taking care of his children. And when you have a son, you know how important it is to raise him to be a man, right? So we already know who we are and how we are, but we still see that. It's still in our subconscious.
But once we lay that foundation to our kids,
Right.
if we lay that foundation, no matter how they veer off, and I am there, they know right from wrong, and they will come back.
Absolutely.
They will come back. So I don't know if I would say that we are compensating for another household, Professor, but I would say that we are compensating, for me personally, my opinion, I'm compensating for what I wanted to what I couldn't get. It's nothing against my mother at all, you know. Hell, she did a hell of a job, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But sometimes once again, an older parent now versus when I was a younger parent, you know what's important to me? Buying my son Jordans. Buying that outfit with the name on it and then dropping him off to my mom's house on the weekend so I can go out. But now what's important to me is going to my daughter's games and listening to her just talk. Watch her every time you go somewhere, just sitting there and just TikToking and just jumping up and down. Oh, damn. The girl, sit your ass down. God. But those are things that I watch and I engage because I became older and mature and became a little softer. If my son was doing that back when I was 20 years old, I'm yelling, I'm cussing, I'm just doing different. So I think being older and having more knowledge. like Dale said,
When you know better, you do better.
you do better. Like Dale said, who taught you?
Yeah, I think D, that's the
I didn't know.
the nail on the head right there. I mean, you just have more experience,
Mhm.
man. You got more wisdom, more experience on how to deal with situations.
So I was a kid when my son was born.
Yeah.
I was a man when my daughter was born.
Yeah, there's a difference.
I was a young man, I should say, when my son was born.
Yeah, there's a difference between getting old
Yeah.
and growing.
I got a question for you.
Age is not.
I'm
age is
doing
not
both
dependent
right
on
now,
growth.
man.
Me too. You ain't the only one.
Growing ain't
Mr.
getting
Black
there.
Broadcast.
Thank you for and it's funny. I'm glad you said it because I've been coming to you for advice. So we can have a talk about where you at before we have to ask a question.
Mr. Black Broadcast, I got a
Yeah,
question.
reporting live.
I got report live. I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You said something that maybe shimmy a little bit.
Yes, sir.
You said when our children don't have an option of failure. Did I quote you correctly?
What I said was, you look at people like myself and Dwight who came from a situation where we were designed to fail.
Fail. Correct.
Designed to fail.
And
Fathers on drugs. We're in the middle of the projects. Statistically, I think it's like 100,000 to 1. No, it's less than that. It's like 10,000 to 1. Make it out the hood unscathed, essentially. Right?
Right.
We make it out. But then, on the flip side, we position ourselves to put our children in a position to succeed.
Mhm.
And then we still factor failure in as an option.
No, okay,
What
that's
do you
that's
mean
that's why
factor
that's
failure in as an
that's
option?
what that's why I wanted to stop right there. Can you tell the people and myself, what do you mean? Look, in your words, in your opinion,
Mhm.
what do
Yeah,
you mean?
What is failure?
What is failure? That was my
How do you
question. I
factor
wrote
it?
down.
How do you factor it? That's the
Yeah,
question.
what is failure? Death?
So
Getting
so
shot?
failure,
Getting killed?
again, you can leave it up to interpretation.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we survived. So you guys are talking about survival. Shot, killed, not addicted to drugs,
Nah.
in jail. That's survival. Success is when you can have a goal and you achieve that goal. Now, before I got out of the hood, first I had to survive. Remember, I had to navigate out of the hood first because all I knew was what I was surrounded by. I didn't know about success. I didn't know about managing finances. My dad didn't sit and say, hey, look at my bank book. He was buying crack, So I didn't have that. But what I did know, because my mother she installed the discipline. So this is how it started. She would say, hey, listen, this is what I need you to do, X, Y, Z. And we did that. And if we deviated from that, guess what she did? Corrective action immediately.
That is true. That is true.
So what that did was that set the foundation for my learning. I was coachable,
Correct.
right?
Right. We get on that topic.
She didn't teach me anything but to be coachable.
Mm.
So as I got older, when I met the OGs that were a little wiser than the ones I met, they could drop a nugget in me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was coachable, so therefore I could take that nugget, plant it, and then guess what? It grew.
Right.
So my mother raised me to be coachable, although she didn't have all the answers because no woman is designed to raise a man. But what my mother did know, just like Dee's mother knew, is when I tell you to do something, you do it. So she set the tone and she set the platform for my learning, although she didn't give me the lesson. Is that what you were asking, brother?
Kinda.
Okay. What's your next question?
but remember, I'm gonna say this too. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dale.
But I'm looking for like when you and the reason why I the word failure
Mhm.
stuck to me
Right.
when you said it is because, like I said, we all come from a different background, and what I was taught, no such thing of failure.
Failure's not an option.
Not
I
even
agree.
that. No,
Yeah,
no, there's no
never-
such thing of failure.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. My dad always put in me, no such thing of failure. There's plans. Plan A didn't work, so you go to Plan B. Plan B
And
may
so-
not work.
And
you go
sometimes
to-
plan B is to make plan A work.
exactly. That's sometimes too.
But I'll be honest. If you fail, if plan A didn't work, you fail.
How's that a failure? That's a lesson.
Can-
That's a lesson because think about this.
D,
Think
can I
about-
take this
the,
one?
the thing about this is, if you fail when you fail to learn. If you keep going into running to the wall, right? At some point in time, you gotta learn to say either I'm gonna stop running into this wall or I'm gonna make it right and go around the wall, or over the wall, go under the wall, do something. But if you keep doing the same thing, then that's failing. You keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Yeah,
It's not-
I'll
it's
say,
not
I'll
the
say
case.
this. There's plenty of folks, let's be real, that we know in our immediate circles, families, that, Dale talking about that wall. They're 60 years old, still a juvenile.
Correct.
You know,
Right.
haven't grown, haven't matured.
It's true, man.
So to me, that's failure.
Right.
That you have gone through life and gotten to a point to where you keep succumbing to whatever's going on that you can't overcome that.
Right.
Sometimes you got to fall to get up, though.
Yeah, but when you
that's
50,
not
60
failure,
years old, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Doing the same thing, I agree, man. Go ahead.
Professor.
So I want to answer. I want to start with Dale's question
Listen, I wish
about what is failure, and I have an answer for that.
I wish y'all could see Professor
Yeah.
while we were just talking.
because
his head almost popped up.
I read a lot, and
He almost fell out his chair.
I almost did. I almost did. So I want to answer the question: what is failure? But before I answer the question, because I do have the answer,
I'm
I
listening.
want to ask.
You
each-
have a answer.
Okay.
No, I have the
The
answer.
answer.
And I have, guess what? You ready? He wants to challenge me, but guess what? Put it up. Put it up.
let's go.
Because,
Come
okay,
on, let's go.
so before I give you the answer,
What you got?
I have one question
What
for
you
each
got?
of you. So just real quick, what do you do for your family?
What do you mean?
What is your role?
To lead and provide.
Okay. What is your role?
Ultimately, I feel like it's multi.
Okay.
Try to be a spiritual leader for my family. Try to provide for them. Obviously, teach my son to be a man and show my daughter what a man looks like.
Mhm.
So that's really what and be a good husband to my wife. So those are the things that I strive for.
Right. So I'm gonna tell you what failure looks like versus success. Now I'm about to hit you with the Bible. Go to Genesis chapter 2.
I didn't bring it.
Okay. Well, I did.
Go ahead.
Right? So it doesn't ever say that a man has to be married. It just says that it's not good for a man to be alone, right? But God gave man, right, a couple things. Gave him responsibility. He put him in the land of Eden to work that, right? So what success is, success mirrors the intent and the will of God. And his will is that a man, quote unquote, a man takes care of himself. He provides for himself. And it's not good for man to be alone. So, it's good to bear fruit, but a man educates. He teaches, he provides, he cultivates, and he leaves a legacy. So when you talk about failure, if a man is not doing what he's intended to do by the will of God, he's a failure, right? Because A, he can't make it into the kingdom. B, he's going against the will, and he's going against the instruction of God. And C, what kind of man doesn't take care of himself or responsible for something that is left in his charge? So to me, that's a failure. You guys might have another answer for that, but
Yeah,
I'm just going off what the Bible says.
Yeah.
So that's
I
the
get
answer,
all that,
right?
But I think that all those things you could fall short on,
Of course.
and it could be considered, you failing if you consistently, fall short of it, even time and time again when you don't overcome it. That's to me that's failure. I mean
So
it's wasted opportunities, wasted resources, hurt people in the process. I mean, just your life is you haven't, like you said, to some of that is you haven't provided for anybody, yourself or anybody else, been a benefit to anybody.
Right.
So that to me is a
Well, failure is a choice.
so let me ask you
that's
a
a
question.
decision that you make.
Black
An
broadcaster
option.
coming live.
Because I'm going to tell you what determines failure from success. It's called effort.
Absolutely.
So there's a choice that you make to fail, just like there's a choice that you make to succeed.
So
called
so
effort.
so
Yeah.
Brother Professor, let me ask you a question. So you described earlier your father leaving the household because he was addicted to crack,
Mhm,
correct?
mhm.
Okay. So let's just say hypothetically, you calling him a failure. Because from going by your definition you just gave, as far as not taking care of himself, not leaving a legacy, not taking care of responsibilities and everything else, is he a failure?
He failed his responsibility as a husband and a father.
So is that failure?
In my eyes, it is.
Okay.
Because he failed that responsibility.
So I want to keep you there. So we calling him a failure.
Dell trying to trap me.
No.
Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm leading up.
Let's go.
I'm leading
Let's
up
go.
to it.
Let's go.
So you calling him and hypothetically in that
Right.
particular situation, he's a failure, right?
He failed his role and his responsibility. Correct.
Got it. So let's just say God came to him, cleaned him up, washed him clean. He turned his life around, came back to you, right? Before you, no matter what age he was, but he came back to the house, to you, to your family, everything else, resumed his responsibility and started taking care of his business.
Right.
Is he still a failure?
So what you're saying is, if he came back and he was able to redeem himself,
correct,
we were still children, because remember, forgiveness comes from God.
I'm not saying children. I'm just saying period.
He's saying just period.
Yeah, if he came back and redeemed himself, I mean, yeah, of course. But what I'm saying, failure is you never, ever came back to rectify the situation. So you failed at the task. That's like saying, I failed biology. I never went back to take it. You failed the course.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
So we know you failed biology. We failed geometry.
Thank you.
Hell, biology,
Pops. So let me say this. Let me say this. Pops failed the course, right?
Right.
He failed the course, but under God's blood, he was redeemed, because before my dad passed, he got himself cleaned up. So yeah, we couldn't, at 30 years old, I wasn't going to allow him to parent me like I was when I was 12. Right?
Yeah.
So he failed the course. But check this out. But through God's blood, he was redeemed. Right?
So that actually add a little fuel to my point of what is failure.
Failure is anything
that's what I'm saying.
that deviates.
He failed at that course, right? He failed at that course, just like you said, biology. Yeah, you took biology in the spring, you failed it, but you can come back in that fall and take it again and pass it, correct?
If you come back.
But
if you don't come back, the course is still failed.
If you don't come back. But let's
bring this back to what we was talking about.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it.
At the end of the day,
I mean, it just goes to show, like we said. I mean, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just our opinion.
I like it. The better,
what I'm saying is
great conversation.
Yeah, great. I love it. Now keep going. Bring it. Let's go. Let's go.
How we got to the whole failure conversation.
Right.
Y'all boys then dissected failure.
But JB, if you fail a class, hold on, you ready for this? If you fail a class and you never retake it, did you fail the class?
Yes, I did. Quit talking about it. Damn it.
But here's the deal.
You failed all the classes, man.
Failure in that sense.
Right. You can't be a success if on your transcript that class is a failure.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about transcripts no more.
Unless they say, guess what? You don't need that class in order to pass. And that's why I said he was redeemed through God's blood, because God says, even though you failed the course, you still passed the class because you repented.
And on that note,
let's go there. Let's get it. Let's go.
This is what we do, and this is what
it.
we're going to bring to you.
Yeah, quarterly.
The Black and Thought podcast. We're going to put you in some thought.
Black and Thought.
That's what we do.
Yeah, let's get it.
7 definitions of failure.
Yeah.
And on that note, we just like to
y'all let us know what y'all think about failure.
Yeah, that's a good one. What y'all think about failure?
Thank you for listening to this episode, and we want you to come back for more. If you like what you heard, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. We're on all the major networks: Apple, Google, TuneIn, Spotify, and many more. Check out our social media, and please like, follow, and comment on Facebook, Black and Thought, Instagram, Black and Thought Podcast, and Twitter, Black and Thought Podcast. Please subscribe, share, and once again, thank you for listening.